First contact and abduction. The crisp autumn air carried a hint of wood smoke as Dr. Samantha Chen made her way through the quiet streets of Millbrook, a small town nestled in the Adirondack Mountains. It was just past midnight, and she was heading home after a long shift at the local hospital. The stars twinkled brightly overhead, unobscured by city lights. As she fumbled for her keys at her front door, a sudden gust of wind nearly knocked her off balance. She looked up, startled to see a massive shape silhouetted against the night sky. Before she could process what was happening, a beam of light engulfed her, and she felt her feet leave the ground. Panic set in as Samantha realized she was being lifted into the air. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The world around her faded to white, and then darkness claimed her. When Samantha regained consciousness, she found herself in a sterile metallic room. The air had a strange, ozone-like scent. As her eyes adjusted to the dim, bluish light, she saw 3 other humans in the room with her. A tall, muscular man with close-cropped hair was pacing near what appeared to be a sealed door. A younger woman with vibrant red hair sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes closed in concentration. In the corner, a wiry older man with salt and pepper hair was examining the walls with intense focus. "Welcome back to the land of the living, Doc," the muscular man said, noticing Samantha stirring. "Name's Mike, ex-Marine. The Zen master over there is Zoe, and our resident MacGyver is Dr. Alan Emerson." Samantha sat up slowly, her head swimming. "Where are we? What happened?" Mike shrugged. "Your guess is as good as ours. Looks like we've been abducted by aliens, straight out of a sci-fi movie." Before Samantha could respond, a section of the wall slid open with a soft hiss. 2 tall, slender beings entered the room. They had grayish-blue skin, large, almond-shaped eyes, and no visible mouths. Their movements were fluid and graceful. One of the aliens approached Samantha, extending a long-fingered hand. A voice echoed in her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. "We apologize for the abrupt nature of your arrival. I am Zar Toll, and this is my associate, Venler. We represent the Galactic Council, and we desperately need your help." Mike stepped forward, positioning himself protectively in front of Samantha. "Help? You kidnap us and then ask for help? That's not how we do things on Earth, pal." Zar Toll's large eyes blinked slowly. "We understand your mistrust, but time is of the essence. Your planet, your entire species, is in grave danger." Zoe, who had risen to her feet, spoke up. "What kind of danger?" Venler moved to the center of the room, raising a hand. A holographic display materialized, showing a massive fleet of ominous, dark ships. "The Kraxar," Venler explained, his mental voice tinged with fear. "A warlike species that has been systematically conquering and enslaving civilizations across the galaxy. They are on a direct course for your solar system." Dr. Emerson stepped closer to the hologram, his scientific curiosity piqued. "And you need our help to stop them. Why us?" Zar Toll's mental voice held a note of desperation. "The Galactic Council has been observing your species for centuries. Humans possess a unique ability, one that could turn the tide against the Kraxar." "What ability is that?" Samantha asked, her initial fear giving way to intrigue. "Your species has an unparalleled talent for improvisation and adaptability," Zar Toll explained. "You can turn virtually anything into a tool or a weapon. It's a skill that the Kraxar, for all their military might, lack entirely." Mike scoffed. "So, you want us to MacGyver our way out of an alien invasion?" Venler's mental voice was solemn. "Essentially, yes. The Kraxar's technology is advanced, but rigid. They rely on brute force and overwhelming numbers. We believe that human ingenuity, combined with access to advanced alien technology, could create solutions that the Kraxar would never anticipate." Samantha looked around at her fellow abductees. Mike's stance was wary but intrigued. Zoe's eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and excitement. Dr. Emerson was already examining the holographic display with intense focus. "What exactly do you want us to do?" Samantha asked. Zartul waved a hand, and the room's walls became transparent, revealing that they were aboard a massive spaceship. Outside, a breathtaking view of Earth hung in the void, beautiful and vulnerable. "We will provide you with access to our ship's resources and a basic understanding of our technology," Zartul explained. "Your task is to develop strategies and weapons to defend your planet from the Kraxar invasion." Dr. Emerson's eyes lit up. Access to alien technology. The scientific possibilities are endless. Mike nodded slowly. "I've seen what determined humans can do with limited resources. Give us advanced tech, and there's no telling what we might come up with." Zoe stood up straighter, a look of determination on her face. "If the fate of Earth is at stake, count me in." Samantha took a deep breath, looking at the image of her home planet. The enormity of the situation was overwhelming, but a sense of purpose filled her. "All right," she said. "Where do we start?" Zartul and Venler exchanged what seemed to be relieved glances. "We'll begin by giving you a tour of the ship and explaining the basics of our technology," Venler said. "Time is short. The Kraxar fleet will reach your solar system in less than an Earth week." As the group followed the aliens out of the room, Samantha's mind raced with possibilities. She was a doctor, trained to heal, not to fight. But if human history had proven anything, it was that necessity bred innovation. With the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, she was determined to turn every scrap of knowledge and every piece of alien tech into a means of saving her world. The impromptu team of human defenders stepped into a corridor, bathed in soft, blue light. Ahead of them lay a crash course in alien technology and the monumental task of preparing Earth's defense. The greatest test of human ingenuity was about to begin. The alien threat revealed. The following days were a whirlwind of activity for Samantha and her fellow humans. Zartul and Venler had given them access to a vast array of alien technology, much of which defied their current understanding of physics. Dr. Emerson was in his element, poring over schematics and asking endless questions about how everything worked. On the third day, the group gathered in what they'd come to call the War Room, a large chamber filled with holographic displays and strange, humming machinery. Zartul stood before them, his tall frame radiating a sense of urgency. "We've received new intelligence about the Kraxar fleet," he began, his mental voice tense. With a wave of his hand, a detailed hologram of the approaching armada appeared. "They've accelerated their approach. We now have less than 4 Earth days before they reach your solar system." Mike leaned forward, studying the holographic ships with a critical eye. "What can you tell us about their weapons and defenses?" Venler stepped forward, manipulating the hologram to zoom in on one of the larger vessels. "The Kraxar rely heavily on energy-based weapons, plasma cannons, and particle beams. Their ships are protected by multi-layered energy shields." Dr. Emerson stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Fascinating. And what about their FTL capabilities?" "They use a form of warp drive," Zartul explained. "It allows them to bend space-time, effectively shortening the distance between 2 points." Samantha, who had been quietly absorbing all the information, spoke up. "What about their biology? As a doctor, I'm curious about their physical vulnerabilities." Venler projected a new image, this time of a Kraxar individual. The alien was a hulking reptilian creature with thick, armored scales and multiple sets of arms. "The Kraxar evolved on a high-gravity world," he explained. "They're physically strong and naturally armored. However, they're susceptible to certain frequencies of sound and have poor eyesight in low-light conditions." Zoe, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly perked up. "Sound, you say? I think I might have an idea about that." Mike nodded approvingly. "Good thinking, Zoe. We need to exploit every weakness we can find." As the group continued to discuss potential strategies, Samantha found her mind wandering to the bigger picture. "Zartul, she said, interrupting a technical discussion between Dr. Emerson and Venler. Why haven't other advanced species been able to stop the Kraxar? Surely there must be civilizations out there with technology far beyond ours. A heavy silence fell over the room. Zartol's large eyes seemed to dim slightly. The Galactic Council. We are not warriors. Many of our member species have evolved beyond the need for conflict. We've grown complacent, relying on diplomacy and technology to solve our problems. But the Kraxar don't play by those rules, Mike concluded grimly. Precisely, Venler agreed. They exploit our unwillingness to engage in violence. Many worlds have fallen because they simply couldn't conceive of the brutality the Kraxar were capable of. Dr. Emerson leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. So that's why you came to us. Humans are still familiar with conflict, but we're also innovative enough to find unconventional solutions. Zartol nodded. Your species possesses a unique combination of traits. You understand violence, yet you're not defined by it. You can create as easily as you can destroy. It's a balance that the Kraxar lack entirely. Samantha felt a mix of pride and unease at this assessment of humanity. But how can we possibly stand against such advanced technology? Even with your help, we're incredibly outmatched. Mike stood up, his posture radiating determination. Doc, throughout human history, we've always been outmatched. Cavemen against saber-toothed tigers. Native Americans with bows against conquistadors with guns. Resistance fighters against occupying armies. But we've always found a way. Zoe nodded enthusiastically. He's right. Human ingenuity is our superpower. We see resources and possibilities where others see junk or obstacles. Dr. Emerson's eyes lit up with excitement. Indeed. And now we have access to technology beyond our wildest dreams. The potential combinations are endless. As her companion's enthusiasm grew, Samantha felt her own resolve strengthening. They were right. Humans had a knack for turning the tables against seemingly insurmountable odds. All right, she said, standing up and facing the alien holograms. Let's break this down systematically. We need to address their technological advantages, find ways to exploit their biological weaknesses, and come up with strategies they won't expect. The next few hours were a frenzy of brainstorming and experimentation. Dr. Emerson and Venler worked on modifying the alien ship systems, looking for ways to disrupt the Kraxar's warp drives. Mike and Zartol focused on defensive strategies, analyzing the Kraxar's attack patterns from previous conquests. Zoe, true to her initial idea, was working with sound-based weapons. She had commandeered a section of the ship to test various frequencies, looking for ones that might incapacitate the Kraxar without harming humans or their alien allies. Samantha found herself moving between groups, her medical knowledge proving unexpectedly useful in various contexts. She helped Dr. Emerson understand the biological impact of certain technologies and assisted Zoe in fine-tuning the sonic weapons to target Kraxar physiology specifically. As the Earth Day cycle came to an end, the group reconvened in the war room. The atmosphere was tense, but charged with a sense of progress. All right, team, Mike said, taking charge as he often did in critical moments. Let's review what we've accomplished and what still needs work. They went around the room, each sharing their progress and challenges. Dr. Emerson had made significant headway in understanding the Kraxar's warp technology and was working on a way to create localized disruptions in spacetime. Zoe's sonic weapons showed promise, though they still needed refinement. Samantha shared her own contributions, including some ideas for biological countermeasures that might slow down Kraxar ground troops without causing permanent harm, a stipulation she had insisted on, much to Mike's initial frustration. As they wrapped up the meeting, Zartol addressed the group. "Your progress is remarkable," he said, his mental voice tinged with what seemed like hope. "In just a few days, you've developed strategies that our best minds couldn't conceive of in years." "We're not out of the woods yet," Mike cautioned. "We still need to find a way to neutralize their main fleet before they can launch a full-scale invasion." Dr. Emerson nodded thoughtfully. I might have an idea about that, but it's rather unconventional. As the scientist began to outline his plan, Samantha felt a mix of awe and trepidation. The idea was audacious, possibly insane, but it just might work. It was the kind of plan that only humans, with their unique blend of scientific understanding and out-of-the-box thinking, could have devised. Looking around at her teammates, Samantha saw the same determination reflected in their eyes. They were Earth's impromptu defense force, a random assortment of individuals thrust into an impossible situation. But as the pieces of their plan began to fall into place, she dared to hope that they might just pull off the impossible. With renewed energy, the group dove back into their work. The clock was ticking, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. But with every passing hour, their chances of success grew. The Kraxar were about to learn a valuable lesson. When backed into a corner, humans could turn anything, even the laws of physics themselves, into a weapon. Humans turned the tables. As the deadline loomed closer, the makeshift team of human defenders worked tirelessly to refine their plans and prepare for the impending Kraxar invasion. The alien ship had become a hub of frenetic activity, with each member of the group focusing on their area of expertise. Dr. Emerson's unconventional plan had evolved into something truly extraordinary. He had proposed using the Kraxar's own warp technology against them, creating a massive localized distortion in space-time that would trap the invading fleet. It's like a temporal whirlpool, he explained, his eyes gleaming with excitement as he manipulated a holographic model. If we can generate a strong enough field, it should disrupt their warp drives and leave them stranded in normal space, far from Earth. Zar-Tol looked both impressed and concerned. The energy requirements for such an endeavor would be astronomical. Mike, who had been quietly observing, suddenly snapped his fingers. What about the gas giant in our solar system? Jupiter, right? Couldn't we use its massive gravitational field to amplify the effect? Dr. Emerson's jaw dropped. Mike, that's brilliant. If we can position the trap correctly, Jupiter's gravity could indeed magnify the distortion exponentially. As the scientist and the ex-Marine dove into the technical details, Samantha turned her attention to Zoe, who was fine-tuning her sonic weapon designs. How's it coming along? Samantha asked, peering at the complex schematics floating in the air. Zoe grinned, her red hair wild from running her hands through it in concentration. I think I've cracked it. Watch this. She activated a small device, and a high-pitched whine filled the air. Immediately, Zar-Tol and Venler clutched their heads in discomfort. Sorry. Zoe quickly deactivated the device. But you see, it affects their auditory system without harming humans. We can mount these on drones for close-quarter combat if they manage to land troops. Samantha nodded approvingly. Excellent work. And combined with the biological countermeasures I've been developing, we might be able to incapacitate their ground forces without lethal force. As the group continued to work, Venler approached Samantha with a look of curiosity. Dr. Chen, I've been meaning to ask, why are you so insistent on non-lethal methods? The Kraxar certainly won't extend the same courtesy. Samantha sighed, choosing her words carefully. It's not just about morality, though that's part of it. If we can defeat the Kraxar without massive casualties on their side, we have a better chance of negotiating a lasting peace. Plus, it sends a message to the rest of the galaxy about who we are as a species. Venler seemed to ponder this for a moment before nodding slowly, a remarkably enlightened perspective. Perhaps this is another reason why your species may succeed where others have failed. As the final hours ticked away, the team gathered for one last briefing. The plan was audacious, combining cutting-edge alien technology with human ingenuity in ways that even Zar-Tol and Venler found astonishing. Mike laid out the strategy. First, we'll use Dr. Emerson's space-time trap to immobilize the bulk of their fleet near Jupiter. Zoe's sonic weapons and Samantha's countermeasures will be our backup if any ships break through. Meanwhile, I'll leave a small team to infiltrate their command ship and attempt to negotiate a surrender. And if negotiations fail? Zartul asked solemnly. Mike's expression hardened. Then we have some more aggressive contingencies in place. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Venlir rushed to a control panel, his movements urgent. The Kraxar fleet has entered the solar system. They'll reach Jupiter's orbit in less than an hour. The moment of truth had arrived. Samantha felt a surge of adrenaline as she looked at her fellow humans. They were an unlikely group of heroes: a doctor, a scientist, an ex-marine, and a sound engineer, but they were humanity's best hope. Let's do this, Mike said, his voice filled with determination. For Earth. The next hour was a blur of activity. Dr. Emerson and Zartul worked feverishly to activate the space-time trap, channeling an enormous amount of energy through the alien ship's systems. Zoe coordinated the deployment of her sonic weapon drones, while Samantha prepared doses of her biological countermeasures. As the Kraxar fleet approached Jupiter, tension on the bridge reached a fever pitch. Trap activation in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Emerson called out, his finger hovering over a holographic button. A blinding flash of light erupted near Jupiter, followed by a visual distortion that seemed to bend the very fabric of space. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The majority of the Kraxar fleet, caught off guard by the sudden anomaly, was pulled into the temporal whirlpool. The moment of truth had arrived. Samantha felt a surge of adrenaline as she looked at her fellow humans. They were an unlikely group of heroes: a doctor, a scientist, an ex-marine, and a sound engineer, but they were humanity's best hope. Let's do this, Mike said, his voice filled with determination. For Earth. The next hour was a blur of activity. Dr. Emerson and Zartul worked feverishly to activate the space-time trap, channeling an enormous amount of energy through the alien ship systems. Zoe coordinated the deployment of her sonic weapon drones, while Samantha prepared doses of her biological countermeasures. As the Kraxar fleet approached Jupiter, tension on the bridge reached a fever pitch. Trap activation in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Emerson called out, his finger hovering over a holographic button. A blinding flash of light erupted near Jupiter, followed by a visual distortion that seemed to bend the very fabric of space. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The majority of the Kraxar fleet, caught off guard by the sudden anomaly, was pulled into the temporal whirlpool. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Mike quickly tempered the celebration. It's not over yet. A few ships managed to avoid the trap. They'll be on us soon. True to his word, a dozen Kraxar battleships broke through, making a beeline for Earth. Zoe sprang into action, deploying her sonic weapon drones to engage the enemy vessels. The ensuing battle was unlike anything Samantha had ever seen. The drones, small and agile, swarmed around the massive Kraxar ships, emitting pulses of sound that seemed to disorient and confuse the alien crews. Several ships collided with each other, their coordinated attack falling into disarray. It's working, Zoe exclaimed, her hands flying over the controls. Their formations are breaking up. But the Kraxar were not so easily defeated. The remaining ships regrouped, adapting to the sonic assault. They began firing energy weapons, destroying several drones, and pushing closer to Earth. Time for Plan B, Mike said grimly. He turned to Samantha. Doc, you're with me. We're going to board their command ship. Samantha's eyes widened. Me? But I'm not a soldier. Mike smiled reassuringly. No, but you understand their biology better than anyone. We might need that knowledge. As they prepared to depart on a small, stealthy craft provided by Zartul, Samantha felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. She had never imagined she'd be part of an alien boarding party. But then again, nothing about this situation was normal. The infiltration was tense but successful, thanks to the chaos caused by Zoe's sonic weapons and the lingering effects of the space-time trap. As they made their way through the alien vessel, Samantha was struck by how different it felt from the Galactic Council ship. Everything was angular, aggressive, designed for war. They reached the bridge with minimal resistance, catching the Kraxar command staff off guard. Mike quickly took control of the situation, his military training evident in every move. "We are representatives of Earth," he announced, his voice firm and authoritative. "Your main fleet is trapped, and your attack has failed. We demand your immediate surrender." The Kraxar commander, a massive reptilian being with multiple arms and gleaming scales, let out a sound that might have been a laugh. "Surrender? To primitives like you? Never." Samantha stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. "We may be primitive by your standards, but we've managed to neutralize the majority of your fleet with technology you don't understand. We're offering you a chance to end this without further bloodshed." The commander's eyes narrowed, studying Samantha intently. "And if we refuse?" Mike's hand tightened on his weapon. "Then we have other options, less pleasant ones." For a tense moment, it seemed like violence was inevitable. But then something unexpected happened. One of the junior Kraxar officers spoke up, its voice a harsh whisper. "Commander, perhaps we should consider their offer. The humans have demonstrated capabilities we did not anticipate. Continuing this attack may lead to our destruction." The commander's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of internal conflict. Finally, it let out a low, rumbling sound. "Very well. We will negotiate." As Mike began discussing terms with the Kraxar, Samantha allowed herself a moment of relief. They had done it. Through a combination of advanced technology, human ingenuity, and a willingness to seek alternatives to pure destruction, they had defended Earth against an overwhelmingly superior force. But as she looked out the view screen at the blue marble of Earth, Samantha knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage in a spectacular fashion. What challenges and adventures awaited them in the vast, star-filled expanse of space, only time would tell. Unexpected allies and innovations. In the days following the dramatic confrontation with the Kraxar, Earth found itself thrust into a new era of galactic politics. The news of humanity's ingenious defense had spread quickly through the cosmic grapevine, catching the attention of numerous alien species. Samantha, Mike, Zoe, and Dr. Emerson found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. The Galactic Council, impressed by humanity's resourcefulness, had extended an invitation for Earth to join as a probationary member. "It's unprecedented," Zartul explained, his mental voice tinged with excitement. "Never before has a species been invited to join so soon after first contact." Mike, ever the pragmatist, raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly does this membership entail?" Venler stepped forward, projecting a holographic display of various alien worlds. Access to advanced technologies, cultural exchanges, and most importantly, protection under the Galactic Council's defense treaties. Dr. Emerson's eyes lit up at the mention of advanced technologies. "The scientific possibilities are staggering. Imagine what we could learn, what we could create." Zoe, however, looked concerned. "But what about Earth's autonomy? We can't just hand over control of our planet to some alien council." Samantha nodded in agreement. "Zoe's right. We need to ensure that Earth maintains its independence while benefiting from this new relationship." As the group discussed the implications, a new alert sounded on the ship's communication system. Zartul's expression shifted to one of surprise as he reviewed the incoming message. "It seems news of your victory has traveled even further than we thought," he said. "We're receiving requests for communication from several independent worlds, including some that have long avoided contact with the Galactic Council." Mike leaned forward, intrigued. "What kind of worlds are we talking about?" Venler manipulated the holographic display, showing a series of diverse planets. Reclusive species, isolated civilizations, even some that were thought to be myths. They're all expressing interest in opening dialogues with Earth. Samantha felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Why us? We're still so new to all of this. Zartul's mental voice carried a note of admiration. "You've done something remarkable. You've shown that it's possible to stand up to aggressors like the Kraxar without resorting to their level of violence. Many worlds find hope in that." As the implications of this new development sank in, the team realized they were facing challenges far beyond what they had initially imagined. It wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. They were now potential brokers of a new galactic order. Dr. Emerson, ever the visionary, was the first to speak up. "This is an unprecedented opportunity. We could facilitate a new era of cooperation and technological exchange across the galaxy." Mike nodded slowly, his military mind already considering the strategic implications, and in doing so, create a network of allies that could stand against threats like the Kraxar in the future. Zoe, who had been quiet for a while, suddenly perked up. "Wait a minute. All these different species, with their unique technologies and perspectives. What if we could create some sort of galactic innovation hub?" Samantha's eyes widened as she caught on to Zoe's idea. A place where different civilizations could come together, share ideas, and work on solving common problems. The concept quickly gained traction. Over the next few hours, the team worked feverishly with Zartul and Venler to flesh out the idea. They envisioned a neutral space station, positioned at a central point in the galaxy, where representatives from various worlds could gather safely. "We could call it the Nexus," Dr. Emerson suggested, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "A crucible of innovation, where the best minds from across the cosmos can collaborate." As they worked on the proposal, messages continued to pour in from curious and interested alien civilizations. It seemed that humanity's unique approach to problem-solving had struck a chord across the galaxy. Samantha found herself working on protocols for sharing medical knowledge across species, while Mike focused on creating a framework for a mutual defense agreement that respected the autonomy of each world. Zoe dove into designing communication systems that could bridge the gaps between wildly different alien physiologies. Dr. Emerson, meanwhile, was in his element, proposing a series of grand scientific projects that could benefit multiple civilizations. "Imagine harnessing the power of black holes for energy," he mused, "or creating a network of wormholes for instantaneous travel across the galaxy." As their plans took shape, Zartul and Venler watched with a mixture of awe and amusement. "You humans certainly don't think small, do you?" Venler commented. Mike grinned. "Go big or go home, as we say on Earth." But amidst the excitement, Samantha noticed something that gave her pause. She pulled Mike aside, her voice low. "Have you noticed how some of these alien species seem almost desperate for this kind of initiative?" Mike nodded grimly. "I've been thinking the same thing. It's like they've been waiting for someone to step up and challenge the status quo." Their suspicions were confirmed when Zartul approached them privately. "There's something you should know," he said, his mental voice tinged with concern. "The Galactic Council. It's not as united or benevolent as we've led you to believe." The revelation sent shockwaves through the team. As Zartul explained, it became clear that the council was fraught with internal politics, corruption, and a rigid hierarchy that often stifled progress and left smaller or newer civilizations vulnerable. "That's why your actions against the Kraxar were so significant," Venler added. "You've shown that there's another way, a path that doesn't rely on the council's often ineffective bureaucracy." The team realized that their Nexus idea was more than just a hub for innovation. It could be the seed of a new galactic order, one based on cooperation and mutual benefit rather than hierarchy and control. As they grappled with this new understanding, another alert sounded. A message was coming in from an unexpected source. The Kraxar themselves. "They're requesting to join the Nexus initiative," Zartul said, his surprise evident. The team exchanged shocked glances. The very beings they had fought against now wanted to be part of their new galactic community. Samantha was the first to recover. "Maybe this is exactly what we've been working towards. A chance for even former enemies to find common ground." Mike nodded slowly. "It's a risk, but if we're serious about changing things, we have to be willing to extend the olive branch." As they prepared to respond to the Kraxar, the team felt the weight of their decisions. They had started this journey as reluctant defenders of Earth, and now found themselves architects of a potential galactic revolution. Dr. Emerson summed up their feelings as he looked out at the star-filled expanse before them. Well, my friends, it seems we've opened quite the Pandora's box. But if anyone can navigate these uncharted waters, it's us humans. After all, adaptability is our specialty. With a mix of trepidation and excitement, the team turned to face their next challenge. The Nexus awaited, and with it, a future filled with possibilities beyond their wildest imaginations. Triumph of human ingenuity. The following months were a whirlwind of activity as the Nexus project took shape. Earth had become the unlikely center of a galactic renaissance, with delegations from dozens of alien civilizations arriving to participate in the ambitious endeavor. The original team of 4 humans found themselves at the heart of this transformation. Dr. Emerson was in his element, coordinating vast scientific undertakings that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Zoe had become the chief architect of a revolutionary communication system that allowed for seamless translation and idea sharing across species. Mike's military experience proved invaluable in creating a fair and robust security framework for the Nexus. Samantha, with her medical background and diplomatic skills, had taken on the role of chief liaison between the various species. She found herself mediating disputes, fostering cooperation, and continually marveling at the diversity of life in the galaxy. As the physical construction of the Nexus station began in a neutral sector of space, the team faced their greatest challenge yet, integrating the Kraxar into this new galactic community. "Are we sure about this?" Mike asked during a private meeting with the team. "They were trying to conquer us not too long ago." Samantha nodded thoughtfully. "It's a risk, but I think it's one we have to take. If we're serious about creating a new paradigm, we need to show that redemption and change are possible." Zoe chimed in. "Plus, their technological knowledge could be invaluable. Imagine if we could repurpose their weapons tech for peaceful applications." Dr. Emerson's eyes lit up at the idea. Yes, their energy weapons could potentially be modified for clean power generation. And their warp drive technology. The possibilities are endless. The integration process was not without its challenges. Many species were wary of the Kraxar, and old enmities threatened to derail the project several times. But slowly, through patience, diplomacy, and a few ingenious technological collaborations, progress was made. 1 year after the initial confrontation with the Kraxar fleet, the Nexus was ready for its official inauguration. The space station was a marvel of engineering and cooperation, its gleaming spires and vast research facilities a testament to what could be achieved when diverse civilizations worked together. As representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the opening ceremony, Samantha found herself standing with her team on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up here?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. Mike shook his head, a smile playing on his lips. "Not in a million years. But then again, I never thought I'd be fighting off an alien invasion with a sound engineer and a couple of doctors." Zoe laughed. "Hey, don't forget the part where we basically rewrote galactic politics." Dr. Emerson, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, spoke up. "You know, I've been thinking about why we succeeded where so many advanced civilizations struggled. It's not just our adaptability or our creativity." The others turned to him, curious. "What do you mean?" Samantha asked. "It's our humanity," he said simply. "Our capacity for empathy, our ability to see potential allies in former enemies, our drive to improve not just for ourselves but for others. That's what made all this possible." As if to underscore his point, they watched as a Kraxar delegation entered the main hall, flanked by representatives from worlds they had once terrorized. There was tension, certainly, but also a palpable sense of hope. Zartul and Venlir approached the team, their mental voices brimming with emotion. "We owe you a debt that can never be repaid," Zartul said. You've changed the course of galactic history." Then Lear added, "The Galactic Council is already evolving, becoming more open and democratic. Your nexus has sparked a revolution of ideas." As the inauguration ceremony began, Samantha found herself called upon to give a speech. Standing before the assembled representatives of countless worlds, she felt the weight of the moment. "A year ago, we were strangers to the galactic community," she began. "We faced a threat that seemed insurmountable, armed with nothing but our wits and our determination. But we discovered something powerful, that the greatest weapon in the universe is not a doomsday device or a massive fleet. It's the ability to innovate, to see solutions where others see only problems, and to reach out to those who were once our adversaries." She gestured to the diverse crowd before her. "Look around you. In this room are beings from worlds that have been at odds for millennia. Yet here we stand, united in the pursuit of knowledge and progress. The Nexus is more than a space station or a research facility. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we choose cooperation over conflict, innovation over destruction." As Samantha concluded her speech, a thunderous applause filled the hall. Species that had no hands clapped with tentacles or pincers. Those without physical forms pulsed with approving energy. It was a moment of unity unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In the years that followed, the Nexus became a beacon of hope and progress. Breakthrough discoveries in medicine saved billions of lives across multiple worlds. New forms of clean energy solved resource crises on countless planets. The open exchange of ideas led to a cultural and scientific renaissance that touched every corner of the galaxy. And at the heart of it all was the spirit of human ingenuity, the ability to turn anything, even the vast challenges of a complex galaxy, into an opportunity for growth and positive change. As for Samantha, Mike, Zoe, and Dr. Emerson, they continued to play key roles in this new galactic order. But they never forgot the unlikely series of events that had brought them to this point. From a desperate fight for survival, they had forged a future brighter than anyone could have imagined.